Father, I am coming to you today with something I have been carrying for so long that I have almost stopped noticing the weight of it. Almost, but not quite, because it shows up in the way I receive compliments I do not feel I deserve, in the way I hold back from relationships I am afraid to damage, in the way I sometimes look at my own life through a lens so colored by what I have done wrong that I struggle to see anything I have done right. The guilt is not always loud. Sometimes it operates quietly, underneath the surface of a day that looks relatively functional, shaping how I think about myself, and what I believe I am allowed to hope for and experience and receive. And the shame is even quieter than the guilt, and somehow more devastating for its quietness, because it has moved past the stage of telling me that I did something wrong, and has arrived at the stage of telling me that I am something wrong. I have been living with the accumulated weight of both for longer than I should have, and today, Father, I am bringing it all to you, not to rehearse it one more time, not to be told once again that I should have known better, but to be finally, completely, and permanently free of it. Let me be specific about what I am surrendering, because I want this surrender to be real rather than theoretical. I am releasing the mistakes I made when I knew better and did it anyway. I am releasing the choices I made in seasons of pain, confusion, or weakness that I have judged myself for far more harshly and far longer than the situation required. I am releasing the things I did not do that I should have, the words that went unspoken, the apologies that arrived too late or not at all, the moments where I failed to be the person that someone needed me to be. I am releasing the version of myself that existed in those moments, and that I have been holding up in judgment ever since as evidence that I am fundamentally flawed in ways that forgiveness cannot fully reach. All of it. Every piece of the record I have been keeping against myself. I am placing it into your hands tonight and asking you to do with it what only you can do. I accept your forgiveness tonight, and I want to say that with the weight it deserves, because accepting forgiveness is not always as simple as it sounds. There have been many times when I claimed your forgiveness without actually receiving it, when I said the words, acknowledged the grace intellectually, and then continued living as though the guilt were still legitimate, as though your forgiveness had been offered but not quite fully applied to the specific things I was most ashamed of. Tonight, I am choosing to receive it completely, not just for the manageable mistakes, not just for the sins that feel small enough to be forgiven comfortably, but for everything. The things I am most ashamed of, the things I have been most afraid to bring into the full light of your presence because I was not sure they were forgivable. Your grace is sufficient for all of it, and tonight I am choosing to live as though I actually believe that. Heal the places in me where shame has done its deepest damage. Shame does not just make a person feel bad about what they have done. It rewrites how they understand who they are, what they deserve, and what they are capable of becoming. It makes unworthiness feel like a settled fact rather than a lie, and it does this so gradually and so consistently that the person living under it often cannot identify the moment when normal guilt about a specific action became a global conviction about their fundamental value as a human being. Go into those specific places in me tonight, Father, the places where shame has built its case against my worth and my lovability, and dismantle the argument it has been making. Speak the truth over every lie it has told, and let the truth land deeply enough to actually replace what has been living there. Silence the internal voice that has been speaking against me, the one that surfaces in quiet moments and rehearses my failures with a clarity and a persistence that no external critic could sustain. The voice that says, I do not deserve the good things that come to me. The voice that tells me people would love me less if they knew everything. The voice that suggests my past has permanently limited my future, that the damage I caused is irreparable, that the person I was in my worst moments is the truest version of who I am. Silence it, Father, not by suppressing it, but by replacing it with something stronger and more true. Let your voice be the one that speaks most clearly into my sense of self, the voice that calls me forgiven, that calls me loved, that calls me new, and that has never once defined me by the worst thing I have ever done. Help me to forgive myself, because I am beginning to understand that this is both the hardest part and the most necessary part. You have forgiven me. The work of forgiveness from your side has been done completely and permanently. What remains is my willingness to receive it, and to extend to myself the same grace I would readily offer someone else who came to me broken and sorry and genuinely wanting to do better. I have been far less generous with myself than I would be with anyone else in my position, and I am asking you tonight to help me close that gap, to receive your forgiveness not just as a theological truth that applies to other people, but as a personal, specific covering reality that applies to me right now in all my complexity and all my history. Help me to move forward without the constant backward glance at what has already been forgiven. I want to stop returning to things that you have already handled. Stop reopening cases that have been closed by grace. Stop rehearsing verdicts that your forgiveness has already overturned. And stop living in the shadow of a past that your mercy has already redeemed. The person I was before I brought my failures to you does not have to be the person who defines my future. I am someone who has been genuinely touched by a grace that does not just cover sin, but transforms the person it covers. And I want to live as though that transformation is real and complete and already underway. Thank you, Father, for a forgiveness that is not conditional on my having fully understood the gravity of what I did, not contingent on my having punished myself sufficiently for it, and not revoked by the fact that I have had to come back and ask for it more than once. Thank you for a grace that is genuinely greater than everything I have brought to it. Everything I have done, everything I have been, and everything I have failed to be. It is finished. The debt has been paid, the record has been cleared, and the shame that tried to write the story of my life does not get the final word. I choose to walk forward today in the freedom that cost you everything and that you gave me freely, and I receive it, completely gratefully, and without the guilt that has been following me. It is finished. And so the carrying of it is finished too.